Well, welcome everybody to our fifth edition of Solutions University. We are really pleased with the amount of engagement that has happened from you, the viewers. We really appreciate your input. We really do. All four of us read what you guys are putting down there. So please continue to do so. We have decided to continue on with our weekly show to continue to bring you different topics of the day. And so with that, so far we've talked about police brutality, white privilege, and injustice within different subgroups. Today, we're going to kind of bring all that together into a topic dear to my heart, we the people. So uh, we got some questions here. We're gonna go round robin just like we always have. So this time we're going to start off with Topher, and we're just going to go from there. So Topher, here's the question. What are we the people in our form of government, and why is it, or why isn't it, the focus on the individual citizen? Why is it we the people and not you the citizen?
Well, I feel like it's a combination of both, right? So we still have our democratic side where we elect, the president, and our representatives, right? So that's why I feel like there's the we part, right? So we run ourselves as a nation by the elected officials, and we make sure that happens. But then the individual part comes in when we're out here doing, my singular vote, my vote is for what I believe is the best thing. And that might not be something super big, but locally and state-wise, it may be something very important. So when I'm thinking, like, as far as we the people, I think it's just a philosophical thing and a belief thing. Is like, we, although we may not agree, need to agree on these core principles, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and all those things, the Constitution, all of that. So we the people need to agree that these things are very important, and we need to protect those things. And then it goes back down to the individual level, and whether you want to be religious or not be religious, whether you want to have kids, don't have kids, whether you want to be rich, poor, whatever, that is up to you. So that's what I believe in.
Okay, Sean.
I'm gonna go along with Topher on that actually, but also when I hear "we the people," I kind of look at it too like if I was a politician, "we the people," that should send shivers up my spine, uh, and I don't think it does anymore, because at the end of the day, those people are there because of us and for us, and I think that they forget that they're too busy trying to stuff their pockets and do their thing, and then we the people um, are like the mob. Really, we're like the mob. So they need to fear us. So I agree with Topher on the whole democracy, as far as like we elect our officials and then they decide, and they need to decide what to do, and why we have things like the electoral college and stuff like that to represent the voices of everyone and not just a select few. But when I hear "we the people," I feel like it's every citizen in this country. It means every one of us, and my personal thing with it is it's more of a driving force than it is just an expression.
Okay.
I instantly think of the song, the preamble from Schoolhouse Rock. I don't know if anyone else remembers that from back in the day, but I was in the play twice and it stuck in my head. And I think it honestly describes it perfectly when it says, like, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Like, that concept of, we forget that, and I think especially in today's age, like, we forget that this whole country is a melting pot. And that's something that I don't feel like is talked about enough, is that it really is a melting pot. So kind of as Topher said, granted, yes, we all have our individual views. Yes, we all have our own sense of individual identity. But at the end of the day, it was all of those different individual identities coming together that formed our nation. And I feel like those individual identities are currently being used to split that apart versus bringing us all together. So we need to kind of go back to what the route we were on prior. But yeah.
No, and I think you hit the nail on the head right there. And are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm
Sorry.
good.
Okay. No, I think you hit the nail on the head right there, where the path that the citizenship of the United States are on today is have the we against them mentality. We are divided so much that when people hear we the people, some people don't feel that they're a part of that we the people, right? And which isn't true. And we do need to go back to what our founding fathers saw. So for me, it's first understanding what our form of government is. We are not a democracy, and we are 100% a republic. Okay, so a democracy is what Ben Franklin said, right? There's two wolves and a lamb deciding what's for supper, right? That's a democracy, and that's what we are not. You know, if we were a true democracy right now, if we voted that all white people are for now on going to live for the next 100 years as slaves, guess what? If it's voted that way, that's a democracy. That's not what we are. We are a republic, and a republic champions the rights of each individual, right? And so understanding that, the next thing our founders understood is it's we the people are an actual authority within our government. So that means you and me and everybody here are a part of the highest authority within our government. So that's what I think about when I hear we the people, and like what Sean talked about, the shivers down his spine, you know, the being proud of we the people. That's why it's gone, because we don't feel that anymore. Now it's the divided America, it's the hyphenated America, and so on and so forth. So because the power comes from the people, and because we the people are the highest authority of our power, our unity is important. If we don't have that unity, then we don't have that authority. Does that make sense at all? Okay, so that leads into the so that leads into the next question, and the next question would be, we always hear about an individual saying, well, what can I do? All I have is a single vote. You know, so they don't vote, they don't pay attention to the politics around or anything like that. So that's the next question to you guys. Is that all the citizens have, is a single vote, or what else is there that that we the people have?
Besides that, I mean, look at, I hate to say it, but look what council culture does, right? So they're not even voting, but they have huge influence because of how they spend their money. So when we think about voting, voting is like, you know, the most practical tool we have and probably the most powerful. But then some of our most influential tools are how we spend our money, how we spend our time, and things like that. So yeah, if we want to, let's say that, you know, they tried to boycott Goya, which didn't work, right? So they tried to, but in response, we had people like me and others going out and buying more of the product. So now that council, whatever they was doing, but it also showed that we had power outside of our vote, right? And we've seen it all the time. We've had NFLs now doing the Black National Anthem the first week of the NFL, all because of the power and influence of the Black Lives Matter movement. So no, we have way more than just a single vote. And if you I guess put everything on a single vote, then you're missing the point, right? I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, you got more power than you have. Learn what power you do have, you know, power influence, power of leading, you know what I'm saying, leadership and all these other things, the power to create, right? Sometimes what you need to vote for is not even invented yet or around. So now you need someone out there creating things that's going to influence or provide another way to vote, or not to vote, but, you know, for something to vote for, you know, like the birthday party with Kanye, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's just things like that that people don't understand that we have the power to do.
Right.
Exactly. So it's definitely more than a vote, but I do want to just say is that let's take everybody who thought that way and was that one vote that didn't vote. How many votes do you think that is? Just I want to put out there how powerful exercising your right to vote can be. or in a race, that can come down to something as simple as a tie, and your vote was that one vote that could have swung things the way you needed it to. So the one vote is important, but it's correct. It's why I said earlier, like, We the People reminds me of the mob, right? If you've ever seen the movie Gangs of New York, right? So they're politicians who want to get the Irish vote. They want to do these things, but the power of the Italians in that movie and how they run things shifted the government, right? So then the Irish had to come up and start backdooring with the politicians and use their power to rise up. So it's a movie, right? But it really happened historically, those things. Not exactly like it did in Hollywood, right? But We the People is the mob, and we have the power to affect that. I mean, if you look at things like tearing down monuments, or tearing down monuments that have nothing to do with the Civil War even, and it's okay, no one's being punished. No one is being punished for the vandalization of a monument to Ulysses S. Grant. It had nothing to do with the Civil War, right? So people's ability to get together in mass and affect change immediately is massive. And that's why you always see there's a t-shirt, there's a bumper sticker, there's a whole bunch of Facebook and Instagram memes, and it shows the dude in a tank top with a rebel flag and an AR-15, and the black guy with an AR-15, and them holding or fist bumping, and it says this is what they don't want, and that's why they don't. It's like Topher said, if we were all united, then the politicians really have no power anymore.
I just real quick off that, I just want to say that some of us didn't have the right to vote for a long time. So for us to say that's the most powerful thing, that's all we got, then you're missing the point. You know how much change we caused before the 13th, not 13, but the 13th Amendment. Wait.
Yeah, 13th Amendment.
13th Amendment, 18th Amendment came around, right? So what we was doing before then, we was out there, we were still in positions of power. We were still out there representing the country. So it's just one of those things we gotta realize, man, there's more to it. That's all I want to say. Sorry.
No, that's a great point.
And I think something when people say, well, we only have a vote, we also have culture. And I don't think a lot of people understand what culture actually is. The definition of culture is the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. And notice how that itself doesn't actually say any particular race. It just states intellectual manifestation. And so when you use that power of culture of the American people as a whole, the intellectual manifestation that can come from us as a collective group together to make change is massive. But nobody wants to talk about that sense of, you guys realize, divided, you have all these specific groups of different ideas. Well, if we all came together and said, okay, how can we make this benefit everyone equally? And if that's one of the pictures I've been seeing nonstop through all this stuff, is the partnership that the government is the scaredest of is everyone coming together. Because when you have everyone on that same page, the amount of influence that they now have is minimal. Like, okay, cool. We have the entire American people saying, we don't agree with the way that you're running this country. We know that you're corrupt and we know that there's a problem here. You need to fix it. That's a lot harder to do when you got everyone distracted arguing with each other, So in a way, if we want more than just a vote, we've got to stop fighting with each other. We're the ones weakening our own power by individually in what's the word I'm looking for? Internally dividing ourselves. The smaller pieces we're cutting our groups down to, the weaker our power is. We come together as a whole, that power is stronger. So.
And if you're united, like Kate said, you also take away those outside factors' power too, like a George Soros.
Yeah.
If these people want to remain in their position and everyone is united on what they want and what they don't, then those special interests can't come behind and put money in your pocket to try and get what they want, because it doesn't reflect what we the people do. And they'll lose their seat.
Yeah, and going off of that really quick, I mean, and that's so true from a financial aspect. I think everyone gets so hung up on, we're not millionaires. Okay, I'm sorry, and I am going to bring up George Floyd here, but $34 million was donated to that man's family for his death. Like, the American people, when we need to come together towards a cause that we believe is important, we make it happen. So when you think about millionaires and billionaires like Soros, who's funding BLM and stuff like that, Yeah, okay, that's fine and dandy. But imagine if we all had a cause, which I don't know, maybe the end to bloodshed and the end to constant hate in our nation. We all agreed that needed to end. If everyone chipped in a little bit, if we needed funding to make that change, we could make it happen. We've donated to dumber things. You know what I mean? So in the concepts of, oh, well, there's no funding, we're not going to, then we fund ourselves and we make that work and we figure that out somehow, you know? So I don't know.
No, that's 100% right. And I'm going to throw a couple things in there before I cover what I have. But and I wish I knew the exact quote, and I will find it. But Trump said during one of his speeches something to the effect of, I am president not to gain power for the Republican Party, not to gain power for the Democratic Party, but to bring power back to we the people. And he's 1,000% correct right there. And each one of you guys touched on the divisions of what one party's trying to do over the other. And so Sean talks about the mob. Well, what does the left do? The left gets Soros, who's going to fund BLM and Antifa to create some terrorist type mobs, some Marxist mobs. And what have the unity between those mobs done? It's creating a tribal warfare within the United States, keeping the division of who? We the people, so that they can continue on and do what all the corruption and crap that they're doing. Okay, so just real quick, I want to touch on some things that are available right now that we the people can or do have at your disposal right now as a united front as Americans, not as Black Americans, white Americans, Latino Americans, but as Americans, okay? So first of all is find those candidates out there or people that would be outstanding candidates and start working with them to train themselves to run for offices at your local, state, and federal level, right? And and do that so that we can start getting some champions in place. Okay, so that's one thing. The next thing is all the candidates that are running literally do an assessment of each one, right? We here in Iowa, we created the candidates assessment card, where it's not about Republican or Democrat. You can use this card on any type of campaign, whether it's president or the mayor of your town or the sheriff or whoever. But it has some values all focused on the Constitution and so on and so forth, so that each candidate will come down with the point system. So it's not that you're turning it in and this is who you're turning it into, but here you have a card in front of you of each one of the candidates, because you yourself as an individual made an assessment of a candidate, and now this is who I'm voting for and this is why, because this person comes closest to my ideals and blah blah blah. So that's another thing. Then it comes to the third thing of vote. Yes, y'all touched on it, right? We have that vote. Each one of us has that one vote, and it does matter. Make sure you're going to vote, no matter who you are or how much influence you think you do or do not have. Because when only 40% of the citizenship is voting, there's a huge problem. So the unity of we the people coming in place. All right. Two more, sorry. So then after the individuals is voted in, we the people have got to stay engaged. The reason why our government has become so corrupt right now is because we the people will vote somebody in and then we'll go and just deal with life and not even pay attention to what they're doing until they do something that you don't like, and then you're just going to complain and point fingers and blah 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 blah. You need to stay engaged. You need to go to their town halls that they have. You need to get on usgov.com and see what bills they're putting through, see what they're voting for, making sure that they're voting for the things that you voted them in power to do. Why? Because you are not voting for someone to be a candidate to rule over you. That's not what we're doing. They're your servant, right? They're your servant. One more. The last one is the party platforms. Right now, and speaking of the Republican Party platform, It is the most conservative platform ever in the history of the United States dealing with parties, right? And it's because it came from we the people. We the people from the local level started putting in their planks, and it goes up to the state, and then they put it together, and then it goes to the national level. And finally, you have a platform. But what happens after that? Everybody forgets about it. We the people don't pay attention to it. The candidates don't pay attention to it. They go to DC and to the swamp, and they do their own thing. So download that as we the people and use that as your tool when you're following up and you're holding them accountable. Sorry I took so long on that, but I hope that's an idea. Go ahead.
I had one thing on that. Educate yourself on those bills too. Don't just sit there and look at, oh, hey, well, you know, they're throwing up this affordable health care and health care for pre-existing conditions. Because Senator Dan Crenshaw did a video on his social media platform. Kudos to him by keeping his constituents engaged and educating the American people. And he was like, this looks like a great bill, right? And he was like, open it. Oh, wait, there's nothing to do with any affordable health care, anything for vets, and anything for pre-existing health conditions and denial of health care. It was literally a new green bill shit and a bunch of other stuff thrown in there. And the Democrats titled the bill something great that sounds like it's good for everyone. And then they go, the Republicans voted nay on it. So you have to look not just at what bills are throwing up, but really look at those bills. You don't have to read the whole thing. They're very extensive, but there are summaries. And you will find in those summaries that oftentimes there's a bill labeled something, titled something, and it has absolutely nothing to do with that. So don't just think your people are doing good stuff for you and it's getting shot down by the opposing party. And that goes for Democrat or Republican. Educate yourself on those.
But I'm also hoping that eventually we force our politicians to make bills simple. Like instead of including 20 things for this one, we're going to vote specifically on this issue, pass that so it's simple for the American people to digest. Having 40, 50, 160 pages bill for what? You know people not going to read that. Come on now.
Yeah.
They do that on purpose so they can hide everything they don't want you to know in the back end, right? So I hope we can make some changes to that as well so we can make it more simple.
Definitely. Okay, so with that then, I'm going to read the preamble of the Constitution. There are 7 things there, 7 things that we the people are charged to do, and then I want you guys to kind of talk about it a little bit, okay? So we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for a common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So hearing that, what are the focuses of the preamble and the Constitution, and why do you suppose those focuses are not being taught or pushed that much today?
Money, I feel like money talks, right? A lot of people will sell their freedom. It's because we noticed it talked about justice, it talked about tranquility and peace, then it talked about defense, then it talked about what was the welfare. Mm-hmm. So at some point, people are willing to give up some of one for the other. So a lot of times now we're willing to give up some of our freedom and privacy for peace, right? For so-called peace. And so, and things like that. So, and people are willing to give up justice, for welfare, or welfare for justice. So it just goes back and forth. And I think because of that, and one of the things I see all the time, we pass laws that are not, or that's too specific, right? So Repeal 16 is what they're trying to pass in California or something like that. I forget the name of it. But it's a bill that's going to take away the affirmative action or whatever they added back in the late 90s, something like that. But what they did in the 90s, they passed it to where you couldn't pass laws or anything specific based on race or any individual like disability and all that stuff. So but now when they repeal it, they now can pass stuff that because I'm black, I can get this bill and be treated special again. Which I think is the issue we have all the time. It's like we need to stop treating each other like we're special. It's like you're an American, right? I don't understand why we just can't say that. Like, you're an American, that's it. We don't go to China, they don't be like China American or or American Chinese or anything like that. It's just, you're just trying, you know, you just, why can't we just be Americans? I get that, right? You know, I'm not saying that we can't be like, okay, because you're black, you have certain traits within your heritage. I get that. Just like, that's why being transgender male, you know, or female, you go to the doctor, you want to identify something you're not, doesn't do good when you got prostate cancer. You know, you're a male. You know, you may think you're a female, but you are a male. So that's why I say I feel like we get a little too ridiculous. I'm not saying we can't have the individuality, but we got to get more like American based. Like, this is good because it's good for everybody. It's not good because it's good for, you know, Kate. It's not good because it's good for Greg. It's not good because it's good for Sean. It's good because it's good for troops, which is anybody. It's good because it's good for the poor. You know what I'm saying? It's good because it's good for business owners, you know, and I feel like once we get back to that, and we'll start seeing some more balance when it comes to the preamble.
Amen.
Well, I just want to say this. I feel like we're all very good friends, and like this is a safe place for me. And I just want to come out and tell you guys that I identify as a millionaire. So I'm just going to go out and just start writing checks that I can't cash, okay? But it's okay because I identify that way, so my bank needs to reflect it.
Oh my goodness.
No, I wish it worked that way, but hey, we're getting there. Maybe it will. But no, Topher's absolutely right. And one of the biggest things I hate about this country is we are the only, and there's very few things that I can say I hate about this country. It's not the country, it's the people in it that decided somewhere along the lines like, no, you're not an American. You're not American. You're less than an American. I think that was back in like the slave days. And then we decided we're going to carry that on past that. When we are free and we are Americans, we do have all the rights of every other white American that had it before us. Then, nope, we're going to stay different. We're just going to stay different. I am not, nope, never been to Africa, never seen it, but I'm African American. Hey, I'm Peruvian American. Actually, no, I'm not. I was not born there. I mean, I visited, but I was not born there. So I really appreciate you hitting on that, Topher. But one of the reasons I think that it's not taught today in the school, like that's not pushed, is because one of two reasons. One is it's a hard thing. Like, you can preach the fundamentals of the Constitution, and based upon writings and thoughts that were documented on the founding fathers who then sat in that room and wrote that piece, you can. But like, my pursuit of happiness is not the same as Topher's. And like he said, some people might be willing to sacrifice a little of their privacy, for a little more peace, right? Some people might be that, that money is that pursuit of happiness, and that's what they're chasing, and they might sacrifice a whole lot of things to include their welfare for that. So that's one reason I think is it's just a hard thing to kind of teach and to kids, on the collegiate level, I get it, but like to children, it's a very hard concept to grasp, The other reason is that it's what makes our country so great. And I feel like people in the education system tend to be very left, very liberal, and they like to push this agenda down that like America is not the greatest country ever. So I feel there's a lot of things that are not getting taught that should be. And I think there's a lot of things that are getting taught that shouldn't be taught to. Like why it happened in my school, my son's school, sorry. At the time he was 9, and he came home and asked me, why am I racist? And I said, what are you talking about? Because his teacher told him that anyone that supports Donald Trump is a racist. And he's a 9-year-old child. And this is in his school in the South. Well, yeah, I had choice words with that principal. I had some choice words with that principal, and then she had some choice words with that teacher. But and this is in the South. These are not the 40-year-old teacher. All right. This is not the 50-year-old cat lady librarian that finally got her degree and is a teacher now too. This is the 24-year-old just out of college, got a blue streak in her hair, Karen, teacher. And actually her name is actually Karen. So but like, that's what it is. This younger generation is coming out, even in red states, even in the deep South, even in these conservative Bible Belt places. And these kids are being indoctrinated in college without this information and then pushing that to our youth. And that's why it's not being taught. That's the larger of the two reasons.
Knowledge is power. I mean, honestly, if you look at history and how history has unfolded, when someone in power does not want to be overthrown, they make sure that whoever they're overthrowing does not have access to that knowledge. And do I think all government is corrupt? No, but I think a good majority of it is. I think there's some good people up there, but I think there's some bad ones too. And if we've seen anything in the past couple months with a lot of truths coming out and a lot of hearsay and a lot of this and that, I think the apparentness, even with Antifa and all this stuff, like I think in the past 6 months, the government has been probably the sloppiest it's been in a long time with showing its corruption, I guess is the best way to put it. And our school system teach our youth. Our youth is the voices and minds of tomorrow. So if you want a nation to not question what you're doing, if you want a nation to not challenge the power in which you're instilling, you're going to cookie cutter the youth, the minds of tomorrow, to think a specific way, which does not corrupt your power. Exactly. So me personally, I think that there is, and if you look at that, that's one of our biggest problems. Look at, what was it? Was it Boston, I believe? Was it Boston? With the school systems. School systems are crap right now. They're crap in a lot of places. And it's ironically, you would think that's where a lot of our focus would be. And there's actually very minimal focus to correcting that problem right now in our nation. And no one really wants to talk about as to why that is. Well, okay, if your school systems are lacking, if they don't have proper funding, if they don't have proper textbooks, if you don't have high quality review on these things, no one really questions, wait a second, this isn't right. Wait a second, that isn't right either. Whoa, we need to reevaluate our whole action plan here with teaching today's youth. So I know that sounds like so conspiracy, planny, but like in all reality, if you are teaching the kid from youth, it's like when people say hate is taught in the home. If you are teaching today's American citizens from the time that they are kids, that this is how something happened, and they learn that from preschool through high school into college, by the time that they get to college, they're not really questioning the base that you put in their mind. That's just all they know. So I think it's a whole knowledge is power thing. I think it's strictly the fact that we are much more blind because we don't think about it. It's just not even on our mental radars to consider that something that to that mass quality or quantity of control would even be instilled. But I think it wholeheartedly has to do with just attempting to put wool over the American citizens' eyes of this is what's really going on. And if we give you the ability to learn about those things, we're jeopardizing how much control we have over you as the American people. So
right. No, I think all three of you are hitting the nail. I know, right? And this is a whole discussion, a whole show by itself, is the education system and what's going on there. But yeah. I definitely want to go back to the preamble itself. If anyone looks at any original document of the Constitution, "We the People" is not the same size font as the rest of the preamble. It is huge. It is 5 times the size of the rest of the fonts for a reason, because they wanted to make sure that they understood they're just not talking about a group of people over here. They are emphasizing that it's we the people, the entire citizenship of this country, that's not going to put up with kingdoms anymore, is not going to put up with tyranny anymore. They are not going to be directed by the state anymore. Right? Yeah. It's by the people. So that's number one. Then it goes on as this entire preamble itself. It's letting you know who is declaring this Constitution. By what authority is this Constitution being put in play? Yeah. By we the people, not by the president, not by the Supreme Court, not by Congress, not by your governor, not by your mayor, but by we the people, the highest authority. And we all talked about it, right? Is the unity and everything. But real quick, just to kind of go back, and I opened this up when Kate was talking. It is law. It is federal law right now. Every September, and this is the way it reads in the law, that each educational institution that receives federal funds for a fiscal year shall hold an educational program on the United States Constitution on September 17th of each year September 17th of such year for the students served by the educational institution. Each federal agency or department shall provide educational and training materials concerning the United States Constitution to employees on September 17th of each year. That's a federal law. People don't even hear about that anymore. Our school boards, because a lot of parents are not engaged, right? They send their kids to school and then they kind of forget about them. They don't know that this is supposed to be taught on September 17th. And in fact, that whole week is supposed to be a Constitution week in our school systems. And they are not doing it. And it's federal law. And so if we, the people, would show up at the school boards and say, look, what are you doing on September 17th week to teach our Constitution to our kids? You know, and they have to be able to provide that curriculum, or they risk their federal funds. Again, power of we the people, right? And if we don't go and enact that power, then they continue on to indoctrinate our kids. Okay, sorry. So to the last question, it says, or it reads as this: with all that we have talked about today, where are we the people, and where do we need to be, and how are we going to get there? Yeah, it's a hard question.
I would say we are confused. We are in the fog of war. Definitely, we're disoriented when it comes to what is, real, because, media is sending us one way or the other. And we just don't understand what rights we do or don't have. We have people believing that we're oppressed when we're not, because it's one of those things where freedom, if you don't know how to use it and you abuse it, it can backfire on you. And I feel like a lot of times that's what's happening right now. We have all this freedom, but we just never been taught how to use it and exercise it. So we're out here just doing wrong with what we got. But as a nation, my hope is that, through us, through others who's out here trying to bring us back, preaching unity, like Charles Barkley came out and made a big thing about, calling out Nick Cannon and other celebrities. We have more people that's calling these people out, that's trying to divide us and bring us back together. There's no reason why we're sitting back and watching this happen. There's no reason, you know what I'm saying? We need to understand that the U.S. is your home, And if you don't think if the U.S. goes, that your house doesn't go, then you got another thing coming, So you might want to protect the U.S. first. That's the first. I mean, that's the end all be all. If you don't protect the Constitution and anything else, then you might well kiss it goodbye. Amen. But my hope is that we just move forward together, Sean?
His voice is. You're muted, Sean.
My bad.
Ah, there you are.
I was trying to think of like a very nice, educated, professional sounding word for this, like, hey, but I couldn't. So I'm going to really relate, like, what I think the American people's on is like an acid trip. We don't know what's real anymore. We don't know what's real, what's fake. Is that wall really there? Is it not? Am I talking to a real person right now? Am I not? I don't know what's going on anymore. Like, I get up, I turn on the news, and I'm just like, and then I go watch another news, and I'm like, and I don't know what's what anymore. Like, what is reliable information? Finding out what actually factually happened today in politics is like asking people diet questions online.
I love that.
You're going to get a whole lot of information, but you don't know what's real and what's not. So I think moving forward, basically all the things that we covered today, I mean, like, you need to stay engaged, you need to stay involved, you need to understand that just because you may have opposing views on something doesn't mean you're not my brother. Doesn't mean you're not my sister. Doesn't mean we're not American. That's what we all are first, and we need to quit segregating ourselves. We need to quit nice way to put it. We need to quit with the cancel culture. We need to quit with everything. Even Charles Barkley, like, I commend him for standing up, and I'm sure he got a lot of flack for that. But you know what? He even said right there, Nick, you're like the whitest black person I know. But we need to stop that too. You know, I get all the time, you're whitewashed. What does that mean?
Right.
I haven't been getting enough sun lately. What's going on? Like, it's
a racist statement in itself.
Yeah, it's on both ends, like, you know, and it really upsets me when people say stuff like that, because so usually it's in response to like how you're speaking. And because I sound educated and like I have a vocabulary over that of a fifth grader, all of a sudden now I'm whitewashed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair. So we need to just care ourselves. We need to exercise the rights and freedoms that we complain we don't have. That's the other thing, is that people will sit there and constantly say that they're oppressed, that they don't exercise 97.8% of their freedoms. They don't even know what their freedoms are, what they have the right to do.
Amen.
So,
That's
you
so
know,
true.
read the Constitution, take a class, you know, get involved in your kid's school, especially at a young age. Because my personal belief is, regardless of what that lady said, she could have said all Trump supporters are the greatest people on earth, right? Kids go to school, what teacher says is real. So why are politics even involved in that of a fourth grader? You know, get in that school, find out what they're teaching your kids. When you pull up and you see that teacher with 3 different hair colors, find out what class she teaches. And I'm joking, y'all. I'm stereotyping there, and I'm joking around in good fun. But like, get involved, because it starts there. Our generation is screwed. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, we're done. We're gonna have this, but where it starts is with this next generation, with our kids. All right, not the high schoolers, right? I'm talking about the little kids, because that's where it's starting to get now. So I think that's where we start to move forward. And it's the same thing when you look at the war in Afghanistan. Kate said it nail on the head. When you want to keep someone in power, you keep the people uninformed and uneducated. And that's what they do in Afghanistan. That's why they would attack schools we would build, all kinds of things, because if the people are stupid, they can control them with fear because they don't have the knowledge. And that's what I really feel like is happening here. So, yeah, that's all
great points, man. Great points. Kate?
Pretty much everything that's been said, honestly. I mean, it really comes down to maturity, accountability, and actually caring about your nation. Like, I mean, to sum it up, we right now have I think Sean really hit it on the head when he said our generation is screwed. I think we've definitely got some good ones, but at the same time, a majority, and I don't even want to say I don't feel like it's millennials. I feel like it's the generation right after millennials. And it's kind of like when people say, like, and I'm touching on masculinity, I am all for, like, whatever, do you. But like, kind of how we went from, you know, or not even just masculinity, people in general, we went from wearing suits and, you know, basically Sunday day dress every single day to pants below our butts with our underwear showing, and, you know, free the nipple riots in the street. You know, so when you think about the way that we've progressed as human beings, it's kind of like, where did our quality of self go? Where did our pride go as people? It completely turned into who can scream the loudest and get their way the fastest, and who can show that they have the most ability to destruct and instill the most fear to get our way. We've completely removed this sense of work ethic, which in turn has removed the ideology of intellect. It's removed the ideology of, there is a way to do this that doesn't involve violence. There's a way to do this that doesn't involve destruction and hate and rage and just noise, you know? And so I feel like as soon as we're able to acknowledge, hey guys, you know, like, I totally get that history's fucked up. It's been messed up in a lot of ways for a long time. But there is a way to go about this in a mature, educated, not hostile way where we can actually hear what each other's saying. Because right now we're in a screaming fest with different generations, different colors, different genders, and no one's actually hearing what anyone's saying. We're just yelling at each other. Who can be louder? That's all we're doing. And it's getting us nowhere. And the government sees that and they're like, oh, look at them doing exactly what we wanted them to do and not having to do a damn thing about it. That's nice. You know, like, so it's just, I think in order to instill the actual actions of the preamble on today's generation, it would take a lot of accountability. It would take a lot of people being humble and saying, you know what, I went about this wrong. I need to self-reflect on what I'm doing and figure out a better way to do that. So that's a long shot, because I'm sorry, people's egos are right now. And being able to look at someone who does in fact have opposing views as you and say, you are not my enemy. You have a different mindset than me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are out to get me as a person. You simply have a different perspective. Having a different perspective is not inclusive with I'm against you. It is simply, hey, here's a different way of thinking about this. You may have some validity in what you're saying. However, these are also views and points that we need to discuss, and maybe we can find a middle ground on those two perspectives that benefit both of what both of our perspectives are lacking. You know what I mean? So I don't know. People just gotta stop being.
Hey, Greg, could I get one point? I'm pretty sure you probably want to hit on it too. But
that's
Topher
fine.
kind of hit on it with the it's not about, it's like whoever is the most special, and by the way, the smallest minority of person gets to have the loudest voice, right? That's how it is. There's a very small percent of people in this nation that are transgender, but now in certain areas, like certain places in this country, I have to pretend as a grown man that Michael is actually Michelle, or I can go to jail or get fined for using hate speech and improper pronouns, right? We tailor it to the minority, not the majority anymore. And one of the things I want to say too is where this country started to go down, and where things like words like patriotism became racist and things like that, which is why we can't appreciate what we have is honest to God, is when they took God out of everything.
Thank you.
And I don't care if you're Christian or not, right? The majority of this nation is Christian. That's what this place was founded on. Now, if you're not Christian, that's fine. Nobody cares. This is America. Freedom of religion, baby. If you don't want to say one nation under God, then go right ahead. If they are saying something and talking about religion or God, and you just want to bow your head, right? And in respect, like you would appreciate someone to do if it was reversed and say Islam was the national religion here. And I'm Christian, but I'm going to bow my head in respect and just remain silent for you while you exercise your right. But once they started saying this isn't fair, this isn't fair, this isn't fair, and taking God out of things, that's when the whole country went south.
That's when morality became fluid. Yeah.
I just want to say that.
No, that's a great point, and I'm glad you did, because I wasn't going to say that, so I'm glad you did. Someone had to say that the cornerstone of this nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, so that's 100% spot on. I love this conversation today. It really got us thinking, and I could really see us thinking on from what each other said, on a little different areas maybe on how to articulate some needs and some solutions that we need to fix this. The thing that I got wrote down here for this question is this: that the global elitists want to divide the colors of this country because they use that as a combined power to make us do what they want. Okay, so the moment I think that we can just start from the very simplest boiled down focus of Martin Luther King's skin versus character, right? And just start with our character. I think we can make leaps and bounds back towards uniting the people as Americans and respecting the I don't want to use diversity, respecting the university of this nation. Okay, so with that, I'm going to do a little plug, but this whole reason is why I made this shirt and why I'm wearing this shirt during this time. The power fist that we see in fascists, that we see in communism, that we see with the Black Panthers, that we see in the KKK, they all use this same symbol: white power, black power, whatever power, right? And again, to focus on that and to unify it around any of those powers is aiding to the division of our country, right? So let's go to the fist bump. Let's go back to the fist bump, no matter what color you are, right? This is saying, hey, you and me together, right? This saying, hey, white power over here. I agree to disagree with black power over there. You know, it's stupid. It's stupid. let's get back to the unity thing. Let's get back to we the people, and I think we will have so much better luck in our future generations to come.
Not to mention that's like that fist that's used as a super Marxist symbol on a lot of communist literature. So that just puts an insight into why you see this all the time on things that try to divide the nation. That it's a democratic republic. It stands against those things.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
So once again, important topic, and like you said, it's not taught as much, and that's why so many people are confused. You know, and then you have that with people who are out here saying the Constitution doesn't include certain people or never meant to include certain people. So you have all that going on at the same time of no one really defending it or teaching the truth about the Constitution and the Republic and what we are. So yeah, it's tough out here, man. So having these conversations
Yeah, it
is
is.
what we got to do. And I'm hoping that, you know, people that watch this episode can be like, man, I learned a lot. You know, I didn't understand, you know, how the vote worked or that I had more influence than I imagined, you know, and things like that. So I'm hoping they take something away from this and get to work within their community, you know.
Amen. Ken, I want to share three websites to everybody so that they can further their education in everything that we've talked about. One is uscourts.gov. uscourts.gov. They go specifically, they break down stuff like the preamble and Constitution and so much others. So that's a great place to go. The other one is the National Center for Constitutional Studies. It's NCCS. Okay, .net, nccs.net. And this is a fabulous site. Again, they are 100% experts on the Constitution and tons of information. They're free information that you can watch and some videos and some training things as well. And then the last one is patriotacademy.com. patriotacademy.com, somewhere else to help further your education. And of course, all of our websites. Mine's continuemission.net.
Yeah,
I don't got one.
town.com and whatever Case is. Case, what's your website?
You're muted. That's it. That's what it is.
The seminary.
Wasn't just me.
Sorry. Yeah.
And I don't have a website, but I do want to leave a message with this: is that if you want to know how you can affect change, is be the change. People complain about a police department. Go be a cop. Change it. Yeah. You think that teachers suck? Go be a teacher. Make a difference. You think that coaches aren't playing kids equally fairly? Go be a coach. All right. If you feel like nobody cares about your town, then go run for city councilman. Go do something about it. You know, be the change. That's one of the other biggest things you can do. And I'm tired of hearing people complain, but they wouldn't put on a uniform and a badge and hit a beat in Chicago ever. None of them would. Never. But they'll run their mouth real quick about the people that do it and how messed up they are. So if you want to do it, go do it.
Right.
Love the point.
But yeah, I think that concludes our 5-video series. And we're going to create a playlist. And so you can just go through the playlist and watch all the videos back to back. Go back and become more familiar with who we are, because the introduction video was really great. I think we got to know each other a lot. And you might know some stuff, like Kate is a superstar and Sean is the Hulk. And then Greg, is an expert in almost everything you can think of. So
I'm going to make a TikTok video and I'm going to show that picture of you, man. You're the freaking Hulk. You were the Hulk.
He's a big boy.
You made me look small, dude. I was like, oh, man.
Hey, don't worry about it. I'm about to full-time content creator coming. And I'm about to get beefy again, boys.
hey, but seriously, everybody.
That's that splash. That's instantly what went to my head. Don't worry about it. That's that splash.
What you got on?
Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Hey, but seriously, everybody, make sure you keep coming back because we are not done. This completes our first series, but we are not done. We are going to continue to come with you every week with new topics. So make sure you keep coming to see us.